Well, the Governor-General today, David Hurley, has sworn in the Prime Minister's new ministry with a record 7 women in Cabinet. One of those women, Karen Andrews, previously the Minister for Science, Industry and Technology, has been elevated to the Home Affairs portfolio, replacing Peter Dutton, who's moved across in a promotion to Defence. Now, a former engineer before she entered Parliament, I regard Karen Andrews as smart and capable. And she's got some big shoes to fill, given it's a portfolio she now holds that was also held by the PM and Peter Dutton. I spoke to the Minister, Karen Andrews, a short time ago. Minister for Home Affairs, you're officially sworn in now. What's your first order of business?
Well, obviously, the first order of business is to understand the absolute breadth of the portfolio that I've just moved into. And as you would imagine and understand, Peter, I really only just started getting some of the briefings that will continue over the next couple of days. What I want to be absolutely clear about, though, is that we must continue to make sure that our borders remain secure. So the great gains that we have made since 2013 need to be maintained. So I do want to make it very clear that I will not be doing anything to wind back the progress that has been made there. So it will be a priority for me to be able to understand all of the work that has been done and how we make sure that that work continues.
Look, it's a big portfolio. It's got huge breadth in the Australian community. It deals with borders, it deals with immigration. We know it deals with a lot of the really outstanding work Australia does with pedophiles online and protecting children. You're going to be in the National Security Committee of Cabinet. In there with you, though, is 2 people who've done that portfolio, the PM when he was Immigration Minister, of course, and stopping the boats, and Peter Dutton there as the new Defence Minister. Big shoes to fill.
Oh, absolutely. But I understand that I've got a lot of work to do to bring myself up to speed, and I'm not going to be shy at all about asking both the Prime Minister and Peter Dutton for their support, for their guidance on what the priorities are, where the risks are for Australia. And I clearly have an excellent Secretary of the Department, very well experienced. I'll be taking advice from here. But I do want to make it clear that this is a course that I will need to set out over the coming months for making sure that we keep our borders secure, that we are dealing with the issues that you mentioned in terms of pedophilia. That is certainly top of my agenda.
Look, I'm a hard marker, but from the moment you came into the Parliament, you came out of the real world with an engineering background. You've always been focused on the detail and getting the job done. You're not one of those people who talk underwater. You just quietly get on with it, and I think the promotion is justly deserved. Got to ask you, though, immigration's part of your portfolio broad area. Where do you stand on this whole debate about Australia's population and a big Australia? What's your view?
Look, I do understand that this portfolio is very different to what has been my experience in the past. Clearly, industry, science and technology was an economic portfolio. This is a security portfolio. In terms of Australia's population, I would be very interested in taking on views about that, but my view is that we need to look at steady and sustained growth.
Tanya Plibersek was pretty critical of the Prime Minister's language yesterday, particularly that phrase when he referred to the Minister for Women, Marise Payne, as the Prime Minister for Women. Let's have a listen.
Scott Morrison, blokes don't always get it right. I'm waiting for the time that he does actually get it right. I mean, what a nonsense proposition that we have a government that is half for men and half for women. This is not a fight between the men and women of Australia. This is an argument between people who are sexist and people who don't like sexism. This is an argument between sexism and equality, not between men and women. And I think every time Scott Morrison gets engaged in this sort of stuff, he gets it wrong. He hits the wrong note.
What's your response to Tanya Plibersek?
Well, it's very easy to sit there and pick fault. What I see with what the Prime Minister has done, particularly with his changes to the Cabinet, is to make sure that he is making a very clear statement that he does want to hear from women. He does want to engage. He's acknowledged that, there are still some things that we need to put in place, and it's clear that we do. I think what he's done is taken a good and important step in terms of elevating issues that are relevant to women at the Cabinet level, but also across the ministry. I think that's a positive move. None of us should think for 1 second, though, that's going to resolve those issues. There are issues with the culture of Parliament that has been ingrained for years. There are also issues with women in many workplaces right across Australia. And look, and I hear what Tanya Plibersek's saying, but she's not offering an alternative. She's not actually coming up with anything. It is really just the same old criticism.
Look, I know you're a proud Queenslander and you live in the tourist belt of the Gold Coast. You're in lockdown again for 3 days. Are you disappointed that this has been the result of a handful of cases? And do you want to see improvements in contact tracing to get it to the sort of standard that we see in New South Wales, that they can deal with these sorts of cases, Karen Andrews, but still keep the economy open?
Yes, look, New South Wales has been referred to as the gold standard in terms of contact tracing, and I think that's probably fair comment. It's very disappointing when areas go down into lockdown, when borders are shut. For a tourist destination such as the Gold Coast, we were just starting to recover once again, and as we head into Easter, we've copped another lockdown. What is starting to happen is that people are showing an increasing reluctance to take the risk of booking travel because it could well be changed at the very last minute because of lockdowns or border closures. That's actually not a good thing for Australia. I would be very keen to make sure that we are increasing our competence in contact tracing right across Australia, and that we are very mindful of the impacts that these closures and lockdowns have on our business and, of course, on our broader economy.
I think there'll be a lot of people in Queensland, particularly in business, who support that sentiment. Minister, thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure.